And today my adventure begins right here off the beaten path in an area that I had no plans to visit today. But this area right here is known as Peak, South Carolina. We're going to walk out here on this old train trestle and we're going to talk about my plans for today. Good afternoon, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Hitchhiking Yeti here. We are thick in it today. We are definitely on the back roads and we are out in nature. We're going to be doing some fun stuff today. We're going to be doing some small towns. But today's small towns we're going to visit are from how it was described to me by some viewers. Some of you guys said I ought to go to some of these towns we're going to today. I'm not going to name them quite yet. They're going to be a surprise, but they're not too far from here. For the most part, all these towns are pretty much in this area. So should be a fairly easy shoot for me as far as traveling from one to the other. But they are going to be ghost towns. Mostly abandoned places. And this is fascinating. Oh my gosh, let me turn you around where you can see what I'm seeing. Look at this. This is awesome. I have never even heard of Peak, South Carolina until about an hour ago. Somebody told me while I was traveling down here in this area, I was like, hey, you need to go to Peak if you're going to these other spots because it's going to fit in perfectly. It's a small town also. That is so awesome. So beautiful out here and peaceful. So I looked over the railing here and I noticed down there, there's some stuff down there in the water. You see all that metal and rocks and everything? It's like a track, right? I was like, is that some kind of something to do with the trains? And lo and behold, the good people here in Peak put this sign out here. The old train trestle ruins. Right there it is. That's exactly what we was looking at. So it says here, look in the river for the ruins of the original trestle. During the Civil War, the trestle was destroyed by the Confederate Army in an attempt to slow down the Union Army. Can you see them? And indeed we can. Because right down there is the old trestle. That's some cool history right here on the Broad River. Thought I'd go ahead and let you know what body of water we was looking at. It's always a good idea when you're vlogging. Tell the viewer what they're looking at. All right, so now I'm vacating the old trestle behind us. And we're going to make our way up here into the small town of Peak. Give you a little insight about Peak, a little history about Peak. Talk about some numbers. It's a very small town. Ain't a whole lot here. And then we're going to make our way to a couple more stops and then wrap the video up. It's going to be a ghost town type of a day, folks. All right, I told you Peak was very small, so you're looking at it. See this curve in the road right here? This is the town of Peak. So just to give you a little information about Peak. Peak was established in the 1850s and the town's name is linked to H.B. Peak. He was a superintendent for the Columbia and Greenville Railroad. When the railroad began expanding through the area, Peak developed as a small but important stop along the line. Wow, check out that old sign right there. Miller High Life. Saw sun faded, the champagne of bottled beer. Did not know that. Never really been much of a beer drinker. But we kind of walk over here. I want to show you read off some fun quick facts about the town of Peak. Peak once had a hotel, stores, and a busy depot during its railroad heyday. The town was nearly destroyed by floods several times due to its proximity to the Broad River. And it is one of the best spots in the Midlands for railroad plus river photography, thanks to the old trestle that we just walked across a few minutes ago. I definitely agree with that. It was really awesome. Really digging these Coca-Cola, like big oversized bottle caps right here. It's very, very neat. Like stuff like that, that's for sure. This is a little old general contractor store. And they're definitely ready for Christmas because check out their Christmas tree. Nice. So even though Peak is a very small town, we can still dig up a little bit of numbers for this place. So the population of Peak is 54. 54 souls calls Peak home. And the median age here is only 64.3. Pretty old town. Those 54 people have been here for a long time. They must be retired or whatnot, but not a lot of young people here in Peak. Okay, so even though there's very few people living here in Peak, let's talk about demographics of Peak. So 51.85% are white, 48.15% are black, and no other races are represented. That's it for Peak. Zeros the rest of the way down. Then next up, we're going to get into the income index. Income per capita is $27,670, which is actually above the South Carolina average of $25,521, but slightly below the national at $29,829. And then the median household income is $60,000. Wow, that's really high. That's really good. And it's above the South Carolina at $46,898 and the national at $55,322. And then we look on down, check out poverty level. It's actually below the South Carolina 17.2% and the national at 15.1. Peaks is only 14.8% poverty level. So it's actually below the national and the state of South Carolina. And no crime in Peak. Peak is actually a very peaceful town. There is the crime, NA, non-applicable. There is no crime here supposedly, so there you go. Perfect place to live. So right down here on the corner, this here is actually the post office. Then they have their pharmacy right here, Peak Pharmacy. What else do we got down through here to look at? The Penner Clinic. Penner Clinic, what do you think that is? Serving patients since 1915. Maybe it's some kind of a doctor's office. I do see some MDs on there. And it wouldn't be a real town visit if we didn't show the local town hall / fire department. It's all done right here in the same spot. There you go. Peak Town Complex. Okay, all that being said, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up here in Peak, South Carolina. I know it was a small one, but it's a cute little small town. And we're going to move on to our next location, which is not too far from here. And I'm really curious to see it because I was told in the comments that this place we're going to go see next is a real ghost town. It is very dormant, not a lot going on there. Got a little bit of history we can talk about, but all in all, I think it's going to be a very ghostly place. Not no spirits, hopefully, just, you know, a dormant town. This here is what Peak looks like as we're leaving. Some of the homes right here on this main road is pretty sketch. Okay, I've made it to our next location, next town. This is going to be fun, hoping I pronounce this one right. But this here is the small South Carolina town known as Pomaria. Originally named Countsville, this post office was established in 1823. In 1840, it was renamed Pomaria, probably for William Summers' nearby Pomaria Nursery. By 1851, the Columbia and Newberry Railroad had completed a line through here, and 6 years later, a free school had opened, and the town of Pomaria was incorporated in 1903. So there you go. So my plan is to head straight across the road here and walk down through this little old abandoned looking town and check it out. All right, so I just spoke to a local person here and they gave me so much information I can't remember half of it because he gave me so much. It just overloaded my brain. So I'm just gonna do the best I can here in this little small town. He's actually lived here for, you know, his entire life. And he said there is a cotton gin mill right out back here on the back side of the town. So we ought to go back there and check that out. And he said that cotton gin was actually still in business back in the 60s. And he can remember that because he was a little kid at that time. But a lot of cool stuff here. Yeah, this is a really cool little place. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the early history. So Pomaria is located here in Newberry County, here in the central part of South Carolina. The area was originally inhabited by Native American tribes, including the Catawba tribe. European settlers began arriving in the 18th century, many of German and Scottish descent. And the town was officially incorporated in 1888. Now I have to walk over here because that is indeed a gas pump. And this might be one of the oldest looking retro gas pumps I think I've ever seen out in the wild. Now I've seen retrofitted gas pumps, you know, being fixed up and put out in front of museums or stores. But this right here is pretty awesome. This is really, really cool to see something like this. And it's not every day you see a pump like this. It's just like right on the sidewalk. It's not like at a gas station or a real pull-off. And right there, maybe they used to have a second one right there in that location. But yeah, that is pretty dang cool. And on this side, it's not as, you can actually see where the money, the dollar per gallon or whatnot, you know, it probably wasn't even a dollar back then. It was probably more like cents back in the 60s or whenever this was being used. But nonetheless, that is so cool. Really, really awesome. This right here was the bank, I do believe, but it's very faint. If you look up there at the top, it's actually B-A-N-K, the bank. Right there is the bank of the town. So glad I found that. Some of this other stuff around here, I don't know what I'm looking at really, but I did just figure that out. That right there is the old bank. So after looking at these storefronts here, you're probably wondering how many people calls this home. So the population from this little town is 116, and the median age is 51. So let's talk a little bit about demographics. So 71.55% are white, 28.45% are black. And everything else is zeros today. So next up, we look at income. Income per capita is $30,529, which is well above the South Carolina and national averages at $25,521 and $29,829 respectively. Then you look at median household income. It's $52,500. Once again, above the South Carolina average of $46,898, and it is just right on with the national average of $55,322. And then the poverty level is 14.7, which is below the averages of South Carolina at 17.2 and the national average of 15.1. That's really good. So now let's take a quick look at crime. The total crime of this town is actually about 2.2 per 1,000 folks. And, you know, that's slightly below the South Carolina average and slightly above the national average. And the violent crimes down there are right on par with South Carolina and slightly above the national. Okay, and right here in this area is the old cotton gin. Now, he wasn't really sure exactly to give me a straight answer on when it closed down, but he just told me he can remember it running when he was a kid, which that would have been back in the mid or early 60s. He said it was still booming pretty good. He said it was very, very busy. But this here is the ruins of their cotton gin. It's pretty wild, ain't it? To see history like this just sitting here. Man, when you come over here to the back side, it shows you the size of this place. We can actually peek into this old window right here. Look at that. You can see some of the old metal roof. I guess it just collapsed. And now you just have, you know, trees sprouting and growing right inside the ruins itself. Especially that tree. That and there's a big one. Look at that thing. It really sprouted up. But you got to think, even if it's closed in the 70s, you know, you're talking, what, 50 some years ago. This stuff has been sitting dormant. All right, let's walk back around to the town and go see what else we can see on the back street, on the back side of the streets. Okay, so now I'm gonna walk down this little street right here. Check out this place. Just give everything a once over. Look at that old sign up there, that old Coca-Cola sign. I can't even make out what that used to be or used to say right there. I see a G, a I, a H-O, something, something. I can't really tell because all the rust. I don't know if it might, you know, look a little bit better in video, but my naked eye, I'm having a real hard time making out what that says. Not really sure. But right next to it is this location. This is called Wilson's Laundromat. And once again, that is a very epic and awesome Coca-Cola sign up there. So laundromat right here. That is really cool. Okay, I think it is time to vacate Pomaria, South Carolina. Nice little find today, nice little place. I really appreciate you guys in the comments who points me in the direction sometime of these little areas that I would have never known about. But I have been here now and documented this little town. Really cool, neat little history about it. Got to meet a couple local people and they give me a lot of information, too much information. I wish I could remember half of what they told me, because one person tell you this and another person went, oh yeah, you remember this? And it was just back and forth. It was wild. But all that being said, let's go ahead and vacate the town